Hindsight is 2020. I mean, today it's easy to look back and see which companies would have been great investments yesterday. We regrettably look back at all the missed opportunities that in hindsight seem so obvious to us because we were using their products and services, yet we never considered them investments. I mean, I think about the iPhone that I'm filming this on. I've been an Apple consumer for 10 years, yet I've never invested in Apple. Now, if I had 10 years ago, I'd probably be rich today. The same goes for Amazon. I've been a Prime member for as long as I can remember, and I even ordered this book on Amazon, yet I never considered them an investment. So that's what this book is all about. It's all about observing the companies that you use on a day-to-day basis and making smart, long-lasting investment decisions so that you can be better off in life. Book Thinkers family, today I'm going to be reviewing my biggest takeaways from The World's Simplest Stock Picking Strategy by author Edward Ryan. And the subtitle reads, How to Make Money Investing in the Companies in Your Life. As a consumer, you are what makes a company special. You know when you go to the grocery store and you're looking at the cleaning products that there are 15 options, and you know you've been using one of those companies for a very long time. You need to be conscious of that. You're what helps companies price. You're what gives them pricing power, the specialness of their products, and you as the consumer get to determine that. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing once you actually think about it. There are so many products in my day-to-day life that are provided, or services that are provided by companies that have done so well in the stock market, yet I never considered them investments. This book has a 5-step framework that we're going to talk about in just a second that'll help you make better decisions moving forward and choose companies to invest in. But first, I want to make mention of a couple of things that I thought were interesting. Number one, I think as consumers, oftentimes we think we need to hit a trend, right? Or we need to invest in some sort of penny stock that's on the back of a newsletter somewhere, whereas that's not always the case. The companies that have performed the best over the last couple of decades are the companies that were super obvious. They were right in front of us. We were using their products. They talked to us about innovation. They're sort of the figures of our society, yet we don't want to invest in them because we think it's obvious or we think it's too late. This book helps you kind of remove some of those limiting beliefs. I mean, again, your competitive advantage as an investor is being an observant consumer, just paying attention to what you've got going on. So I've been very conscious of the time that it takes for me to do these videos. I know that I've got to shorten them up a little bit. So the rest of this book, after you kind of realize that you've been using products that have been doing super well in the stock market over the last decade or two, how do you actually implement that in your life? And so this book is built around a 5-step process that is very easy to follow. And the author actually outlines each one of these sort of with his own notes as you're going, so you get a reference example. So the 5 steps. Step number 1 is to list your life activities. That means you need to get organized. You'll create a list of all the products and services that you use in your life. You take inventory of your actions. It's a dynamic list. It's a life list. That's what Edward calls it. You're going to update this every 3 months or every 6 months, whenever you choose moving forward. But it was a really fun activity for me to go through and start paying attention to the products that I'm using. Are you using them daily, weekly, monthly, yearly? How often? And then step 2 is to qualify your activities. So you're going to give thought to each product and service that you use with a few of his guided questions, and you'll determine how likely that product or service is to translate into one of your special companies that you want to invest in. Step 3 is to rank your stocks. So you're going to narrow down the broad list of companies that are the best of the best, and you're going to rank these in numerical order so that you can determine which you'd like to invest in. Step 4 is to invest in your life stocks. And so using your top ranks, you're going to determine how much you actually want to invest in each one of these companies. So if you have a $100 budget or a $10,000 budget or a $100,000 budget, the author, Edward, he's going to actually give you guidance on how to allocate that based on your numerical rankings. And then lastly, in step 5, you manage your life stocks portfolio. So moving forward, how often are you making changes? How often are you investing in new stocks? How often are you updating your life list? Those are all things that we're going to talk about in this book. Now, I've been invested in the stock market for a long time, and I always sort of just defaulted to the S&P 500. You hear things like, the S&P 500 beats 96% of actively managed mutual funds over any 10-year period, right? That's a very common thing that people say. Sometimes they even say it's higher. And that's why I've always defaulted to index funds. But I think for the first time, I've come up with a strategy that makes sense to me. I mean, Edward is very credible at what he does. He's worked with some of the top analysts on Wall Street. He still maintains a portfolio that did 1,200% in gains over 4 years or something like that. I mean, he's got a great track record. He's been studying this for a long time. He has a degree in it. Yet this strategy is simple. You don't need any prerequisites. You don't need to have studied trading in order to be effective here. And that's what I really liked about this book. It gives me also the opportunity to get a little bit more interested in the companies that I'm using, to be a little bit more conscious of how they're doing instead of just buying products off the shelves. And that's something that I'd like to do. So I hope you enjoyed today's review. I hope it gave you a good preview. Now you can make the decision. Is this a good book for me? Maybe it's a good book for somebody in your family for the holidays as well, somebody who's interested in investing. I think it's a very good book for people who are just starting out, or people who day to day want to be investors but aren't necessarily looking to sit in front of 4 monitors every day and trade, right? That's not me. This is a better strategy for me. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed today's review. Go read something. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and also let me know what you think in the comments. Bye.